Hello, my name is 𝗁𝗵𝗿𝗀, and in this short video I wanted to talk about how to format dates in charts. And as we'll see, as I'll show you, there are some potentially kind of dangerous formats that we should be avoiding, right? For example, when was this, right? Was this February 7th, 2010, or was this February 10th, 2007? What about this, right? Was this October 2nd, 2007, or was it February 10th, 2007? Or how about either of these? So actually, I don't even really know when any of these dates actually were, and yet these are common date formats that we will find in charts all the time. How about this? Yeah, well, there's only really one way to interpret this. I know exactly when this was, right? Or this, or these, same thing. So what's the difference between the date formats on the left and the date formats on the right? Two things. The first is that the month is shown as alphabetic characters. So like Feb or February or Mar or March or something like that. So not numbers, right? It's not 02, it's Feb or February. And the second is that the year has 4 digits, right? If something in a date format has 4 digits, it has to be the year. It can't be the day of the month, and it can't be the month. And so if these two criteria are met, we know that our date format is going to be clear. It's not going to be ambiguous. Let's say we have a column of dates though. And so in principle, these formats are good because I know exactly when these dates actually occurred. I know actually what they were. However, a little kind of chunky to read, right? Because the day of the month is jumping around and the year is also kind of jumping around, especially in this case where I have the day of the week as well. And so if you have a column of dates, I would actually try and choose date formats where everything kind of lines up, right? And so I have the days of the month that line up and the months and the years that all basically line up. And so it's going to be kind of a narrower selection. There's really only 2 or 3 date formats that are actually going to work in a situation like this. Now, if you're very observant, if you're very eagle-eyed, you might have noticed that in fact the years in these dates don't actually line up perfectly. This one's a little to the left, this one's a little to the right. And that's because the typeface that I used in this case has what are called monospaced numbers, right? And so the numbers are all the same width, but the letters are not, right? The I is a little bit narrower than the W, for example, and so the months are actually slightly different lengths. Personally, I'm okay with that. However, if you want everything to line up absolutely perfectly, there are what are called fully monospaced typefaces, like Courier New or Cascadia, which is what we're looking at right now. And so those are specially designed typefaces that have all the same characters. Even the punctuation marks are actually the same width. And so everything will line up perfectly, but as you can tell, a bit of a trade-off. These are typefaces that tend to be designed more for like kind of coding or technical applications. And so they look kind of computery, and they perhaps don't have as good readability as other typefaces that have variable width characters. And so it's kind of a pick your poison situation. I would typically go with a more legible font like the one on the left, however, entirely up to you. Now, when I talk about these date formats, sometimes people will say, well, you know, the kind of more human-friendly date formats are not really good formats for storing dates in a database. And that is true. Or if you're manipulating data, formats like this are actually kind of better for storing data. And so, by the way, this is a Unix epoch timestamp, basically the number of days between 1970. Potentially a good way to store dates in a database, not a good way to show dates to people. So if you're going to be storing dates in a database or something like that, you can store them in this format, just reformat them before presenting them to users. And virtually all software platforms and programming languages have very simple functions that allow you to do this, typically with a single line of code or a single formula in a spreadsheet, for example. So it's just one of the things that I talk about in my Practical Charts course, which I deliver a couple of times a year as online public workshops. And the next one happens to be coming up on kicking off on January 19th, 2026. If you happen to be watching before then, you can sign up for that. And then I will also be teaching my Practical Dashboards course the following week, also for half days in length. More information can be found on my website, practicalreporting.com. And if you use the discount code webinar01 before the 19th there when the workshop starts, you can get 20% off. Thanks very much for watching.